Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, councillors. Welcome to the Town and Community Committee on Tuesday, the 20th of June, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. This meeting is being recorded and will be uploaded to the Biddulph Town Council YouTube page. The aim is that decision making should be transparent and in the public domain, which will involve more of our community and local democracy. By being in this council chamber, you are consenting to being recorded and for your image to be added to YouTube. The images and sound may be used for training purposes. Any views expressed are the speaker's own and do not necessarily reflect the view of Biddulph Town Council. Please view the guidance on recording in public meetings policy if you need more information.
Thank you. Good evening, councillors, and welcome. Item 1 on the agenda is the election of the chair and then the deputy chair. So first of all, I will call for nominations for the chair. Jill, sorry, councillor Salt.
Can I nominate Councillor Charlie Smith for the position of chair?
If you must, of course you can.
Thank you.
Seconder for Charlie. Councillor Garvey, second. So can we have a show all in favour of...
The nomination.
Well, sorry, yes. Any other nominations? Are you just scratching your nose there, or are you putting your hand up?
No.
Right. As there's no other nominations,
On the auction.
can I just have a show of hands to make sure that we're doing it all right? Oh, Charlie, you're elected.
Thank you very much.
Unopposed?
Moving or?
Yeah. The views of this is called musical chair.
Okay.
There you go, Chair.
Oh.
Very much. If we can now move on to call for nominations for deputy chair, please. Yep, Councillor Rogers.
I'd like to nominate Councillor Jim Garvey, please, first, Vice Chair.
For seconder. Councillor Yates. Yep, any other nominations? No, can we take a vote, please? I think that's unanimous. Councillor Garvey.
Thank you, Chair.
Do we have any apologies for this evening?
Just Councillor Proudlove.
And declarations of interest. Does anyone have any disclosable pecuniary interests and dispensations?
I'm employed by Stafford University. That will become apparent later on.
Any other interests? Okay, so item number 4, to sign the minutes of the Town and Community Committee meeting held on the 18th of April.
Do them, Chair.
Go through those.
If everyone wants to, we've been to Town Council, but
Okay, are we happy to move those?
Yeah.
Okay, so item 5 is actually an item that I've requested, and it's to consider the provision of a resource library. Just to give a bit of background, there is a sort of movement that's going on in the home counties and down south, and there's a website called the Library of Things, which I've sent a link to Jodie. She'll pop up on the screen. But basically, it's a community resource library. And the idea is it provides equity in the community because it provides items that you can just go and borrow for a period of time. So whether that be a sewing machine for a small project, if you need an SDS power drill for a small project, you know, you might need a carpet cleaner for a few days, something like that. So it's a community resource, and it aims to sort of level the playing field if people don't have the financial means to buy these things. Also, they don't have the storage space, but it's also got a real environmental value as well. So I wanted to kind of bring that forward as a potential project with sort of community value and environmental value for the town council. If Jodie can just show you a little bit about it. So the idea is it's a scheme that you join, and they've also got things that you can add on, like they do like a skill swap as well, so it's even more community involvement from that point as well. It kind of builds. So it was just to garner your thoughts on whether that might be something.
Can you share that link with us?
Of course, yeah, no problem. That's the eight.
Yeah, I think it's a very good idea, and I think it's a very good idea for another reason as well. As one of the things is that if we have got community volunteers which are outside of, you know, if we want to run a volunteering project as individual councillors or as a town council, it's getting access equipment to do that. You know, I'm very conscious that, say, you know, issues which we have on the Biddle Valley Way, Feckling and things, we dependent on what we've actually got in our toolkit, and not so much got equipment to actually allow us to do that. So I think it would be a good idea if we can find the appropriate storage to actually apply for grants and things which allow us to produce an assembly of things which are also useful, not just for this library, but also for volunteering groups which are outside the normal, you know, bring a rake and a shovel, so to speak. If we're doing more environmental work and people want to get more involved, then you do need things like, you know, high loppers and stuff like that, and perhaps a petrol strimmer and things like that, which allow us to actually get involved and really start to do some proper environmental work on the community. So I'd certainly applaud that. I think it needs a task and finish group, so to speak, because obviously we've got issues to do with resources. I think there's less issues to do with finance because there are a lot of grants for these community initiatives. So I don't see it's much an issue with that. But yeah, I certainly support it with that wider remit to assist the voluntary groups.
So I just.
Yeah, I think in principle it's a good idea. I mean, the little concerns are in some ways, a lot of people who are very handy at doing jobs have got the equipment. So this could be quite novices who want to borrow hedge cutters or whatever. If they get injured, who's responsible for the injury? That's why I'm just trying to cover the back of us with, that's all.
So Lawton?
My point was very similar. Where does the liability rest if there is an accident? Particularly some of the items in the illustration are related.
I would imagine there was something in the way of a waiver or of some description. But as it is a scheme that I've found that is quite, they're in the quite late stages of it down in some of the home counties, it might be something we can look at and ask that question. Councillor Salt.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, and I think we can combine it with the SEND library that we've talked about as well, and the SEND equipment could go into that too. We just need to find a venue to host it because it looks there. It's a bit like the Amazon lockers, isn't it? Where, you know, you've got your electronic things that you put your details in, and then it opens your cupboard. So it would just need a location. So I mean, happy to explore that. But yeah.
Oh, sorry, switched off. I'm a bit confused with this. Good ideas, no two ways about it. But as I see it, we've got to have a building or something like that where we store whatever we're going to have. We've got to buy whatever we're going to have. Am I right so far?
Yeah.
Possibly. Well, it's not enough. So we've got to have a lot of tackle stored somewhere. We don't know what the demand will be, particularly when we're buying stuff in. We've got to know what is there a demand for hedge cutters, is there a demand for this, the other. So we've got to look very carefully as to what we do buy. But once we've bought this stuff, and I'm sort of going along Adrian and, sorry, councillors, forget these surnames then. You know, we've then got to maintain this equipment. Because if we don't maintain it, and heaven forbid somebody gets their little fingers chopped off on the edge cutters, we're up it, I think, quite frankly. So I think there's a little bit more to it, but fantastic ideas, no two ways about it. But I would like some safeguards for users and for the council if we're providing this equipment.
Absolutely agree with you. Absolutely.
Yeah, agree. I think it's a great idea. But rather than try and reinvent the wheel, can we just connect with those who have already done it and go and ask them, and if there is a task force or whatever, go and have a chat with them.
And I think there's a list at the beginning. I think there's about 20 different areas that are actually actively doing this at the moment. So I think there's plenty of people we might be able to touch base with how it all works.
Sorry, another one. Is there a way of doing it virtually as well? So, for example, I might have a strimmer, and I'm quite happy to borrow it. So we can go on and ask me to borrow my strimmer.
Anyone else want to speak at all? Councillor Yates?
Yeah, well, that's actually a brilliant idea. I remember having a chat with my neighbours because I mowed the ladders, and I said, look, not being funny, if you ever think of buying something, why don't we just make sure we buy different dissimilar items so we can actually share them? You know, and I wouldn't say we've particularly done it in a formal manner, but we now know who's got things which we only use every Preston Guild, so to speak. I think there are ways of doing it. I think it is worthy of going to a separate conversation about it. I think the purpose of this committee is just to nod it through in principle to go to the next stage, which is the exploratory stage. I think it does fit in to the sort of overall scheme of ideally the council having a building community asset which we can put to multiple uses. And I can certainly see with the conversations we've had with the necessity for having space that this would come and fit into that necessity. I think with the SEND equipment, there is scope for using some of the empty rooms at the library, dare I say, which are becoming vacant because it's clean equipment, generally speaking, inside. Whether you can use that level of space for putting garden or DIY equipment is a little bit different. There's different things to what you put in a spare bedroom and what you put in the garage. But I think for the purposes of progressing this particular this request at the moment, I get the impression that there's pretty much tacit agreement to go on to the next stage and explore, and it does fit in and how the council's developing.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I'm going back a few years now, I used to borrow some various bits of equipment from the Mitchell Memorial Centre. Now, because I was in a particular group, but we used to leave some money behind. It was only a token. And would there be, and that was obviously to replace if we passed anything up. Would that sort of thing be in existence?
Yeah, they do charge a fee. I don't know whether it's the same fee across the board for every single place, but they do charge like a daily fee or a weekly fee for borrowing these items, but it's quite nominal in comparison to going out and buying these things.
I think it's a good idea.
So, for example, I've just myself spent £60 for a week to get an industrial Henry Hoover to hoover up the dust in my house. So, and that's through Jewson's, and it'd be good if we could have like a community.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea in principle. That's what it's about.
Yeah, it's just this little thing at the shop actually. If we're promoting things, it's not a Henry Hoover. A Hoover's a make and a Henry's a make. It's just a little thing. When you're promoting things, that's all. It's a vacuum cleaner.
It's got eyes on it.
It's a Henry. It's a Henry vacuum. Hoover's another manufacturer.
Corrected.
No, I'm just saying when we're promoting things, we must put it down correctly, that's all.
He's never used one, don't worry.
I'll leave the person in the know to correct me on these things.
Everybody asks for Hoover bags, no matter what make they are. Have you got a Hoover bag? No, it's for Panasonic. It's a Panasonic bag. Just one of them little nibbly things that come at the shop, that's all.
Bit of blank showing me now.
Yeah, I watched the programme a couple of weeks ago, actually, and it's along these lines, but not the same as, and you couldn't probably do it in the same, but it was a paint recycling scheme where people brought paint in, old paint, and it was run through a machine and it was filtered and it was cleaned and it was put in fresh paint pots with, a plastic tub with whatever colour it was. And it was a hell of a lot cheaper than buying new paint. And I dare bet if everybody's got a shed around this table, we've all got half-used tins of paint that, it's along the same lines, but obviously you couldn't run pretty messy alongside that. I would just think, it's perhaps something that in the future we could explore.
Councillor Yates?
3 things. Firstly, my son-in-law is a senior account manager for Vax. So I always ask him how he's doing selling his Hoovers. And it winds him up slightly. Secondly, I was on a related thing and picking up what Councillor Jackson just said. I was actually at this Staffordshire Sustainability Board yesterday, and I was discussing with the chaps who now run the recycling centre about putting a 3-week set of shelves up at the recycling centre, where you have a set of 3 racks with interchangeable labels, and you put week 1, week 2, week 3. What happens week 1? Anybody who's got something which they don't want for tipping but is usable, but perhaps not charity shop status, for example, half a tin of paint, that goes on to week 1. At week 2, the sign goes off and week 1 becomes week 2. The week 2 sign comes off, comes week 3. And then at week 4, everything which hasn't been taken from week 3 is tipped. And that becomes week 1, which is empty for filling up. And it's a way of getting reusing things, and it also gets the community in the habit that if they've got something like that, they have got a definite outlet to do it. And I think that's something which we will start to be able to happen at the recycling centre. And just picking up on the thing about expensive rentals, there is a trick. Buy it off eBay, use it, clean it, resell it off eBay. Sometimes you make a profit. Just throw that.
Yeah, thank you. Can I propose that we accept this and that we make further investigations into it? Yeah.
Second. Councillor Owens. All in favour? Thank you very much. So moving on to item 6, this item has been requested by Councillor Salt, and it's to receive an update on the project to analyse the Biddulph Works Together project and to agree a town council position.
So Jodie's got some slides on the board. So the Biddulph Works Together project has run for almost 12 months now, and we've not done a piece of evaluative research on it really. I think there's the ambition I hear. Can we have the next slide, please, Sarah? Jodie. Thank you. Right. Before I go there, I'll tell you what participatory action research is. So it's not a traditional form of research that involves questionnaires and structured interviews. It gives power to those that are often unheard. So it's not me doing the research, it's me empowering our community members to do the research. So I would train community researchers to undertake the research of the Biddulph Works Together project. That's the first thing. So it trains researchers within our own communities, and it uses non-traditional research methods that people ordinarily might not assume were connected with the research. So things like craft, photography and poetry. Next slide, please. So I've been given by Staffordshire University a research grant of £1,000 to evaluate the Biddulph Works Together project. So to bring it back to the Biddulph Works Together project, Sarah's taken some kind of data from the people that have supported the Biddulph Works Together project. So we've got estimates for the amount of people that we've fed, and we've sat around this table and we've talked about how we thought the programme has gone, but there hasn't been any actual formal research into or formal evaluation of the project. There's been interest from around the county for what Biddulph has been able to achieve with the Biddulph Works Together project. But at the moment, Biddulph Town Council doesn't have anything formal to share with the people that have been asking the questions, aside from anecdotes and word of mouth. So what I'd like to do via Staffordshire University in this research grant is train community researchers. So this will be, the community researchers will be not people with power, so not me, not the councillors sat around this table, because the people that are often, sometimes with research, if you've got someone in a position of power, they'll tell you what they think you want to hear, basically. So the idea is that these community researchers will be people like David Pickles, for example, or Margaret that runs the Biddulph People's Project, or Anthony Capistano from the Youth and Community Zone. So I will be around kind of floating, but they'll run the research projects themselves. So there'll be 5 or 6 of these events taking place across the community, and they'll all be asked the same questions. So it might be, what did you enjoy about the Biddulph Works Together project? How could the Biddulph Works Together project be improved? Can't give you the research questions right now because again, and it's difficult to get your head around this concept, but participatory action in research puts the ownership onto the community researchers. So the community researchers themselves, before they go out to the groups, will decide upon the research questions and the types of activities that they want to run with the people that participants in their projects. So the questions might be, right, what did you think about the Biddulph Works Together project? And in order for Phil or to answer that question, it might be that the community researchers decide to ask them to complete a drawing or to write a poem. So we can get some kind of data from what they produce. And then the way we pull that data together is yet to be determined because that's down to the community researchers. But what we're hoping, or what I hope, or what I envisage, is we'll get something tangible that Biddulph Town Council can then share with its partners and with yourselves that evaluates the Biddulph Works Together project. So it could be something like a little video with snippets of art or having a look at poetry. It could be a little brochure with the poems that people have made or the drawings that people have done. And hopefully through that type of research, we'll find out what people thought of the Biddulph Works Together project so that Biddulph Town Council can share it, but also how we could potentially make improvements or change the Biddulph Works Together project moving forwards. So there's a short time frame on this. The research grant has got to be spent by the end of July. And that'll be spent by me as the researcher, and that will involve things like room hire and refreshments and all the materials and things. So there's no cost to the town council. There's no town council or officer time or town councillor time. Remembering I'm doing this as a form of employment, I'm not doing it as a town councillor. Hopefully by the end of September, beginning of October, Biddulph Town Council will receive something that evaluates the Biddulph Works Together project. Next slide, please. If there is one. Oh, yes. So the potential of this project is that there's a lady called Professor Jackie Reynolds. Some of you might know her mum, which is Gillian Reynolds. She is a member of Biddulph's community, quite yeah, she does fair trade and other things. So Professor Jackie Reynolds looks at research impact for Stafford University, and she approached me last week and said that she'd be really interested in working on the research with me, which is great kudos. It will equip our community with new skills. It will provide feedback to Biddulph Town Council on how to improve Biddulph Works Together. It will produce an output that can be shared to showcase the Biddulph Works Together project. And it will hopefully provide a written academic output that will be shared in research papers amongst the research community. Next slide, is that? I think, yeah, there is. So what I'm asking for, so for permission is me, Jill Salt, not Councillor Jill Salt, and those are all my initials after my name, so you know that I do know what I'm talking about, to evaluate the Biddulph Works Together project by participatory action research and a group of community researchers within our town. Sarah to write a letter. So this is all I'm asking for today. Sarah to write a letter to say that Biddulph Town Council are in support of the evaluation of the Biddulph Works Together project. That's all I'm asking for. The project will not happen unless Stafford University Ethics Board sign it off. So the ethics approval has been written and it will go to Stafford University's Ethics Approval Board, but it can't go to the Ethics Approval Board unless Biddulph Town Council is given permission for its Biddulph Works Together project to be evaluated in this way. So that's what I'm asking for today. Any questions? Councillor Norton.
Please. Could I have some clarification
Yeah.
over the timescale? You've already said that time is tight.
Yeah.
Mentioned the end of July for the funding.
Yeah.
Has this money got to be spent by?
So,
First of all.
yes, it has. So I've not left this till the last minute. This is just a Stafford University thing where they develop the participatory action research programme, and the deadline is being very tight, and that's been shared with us from the very beginning. So the money has got to be spent by July. So for example, in order to spend that money, I could book a room in October. But I would have prepaid for it, so that budget will have gone. I'll be buying all my resources and things for the craft materials and stuff. And they'll already be in situ for whenever we get the research together and get the projects going. So the research doesn't have to be finished by July, but the budget needs to be spent by July.
Yes, and in anticipating your future needs by the end of July, taking into account the costs involved in analysing results. It isn't just a matter of doing the surveys, it's a matter of analysing and presenting results.
Yeah, so the costs are not for the analysis of the results, they're merely to run the project and get the project. So to analyse the results and produce the material at the end, that is not part of the research project that the £1,000 is for. That's to do the actual research. The stuff that comes after is not part of that £1,000.
Therefore, who pays for that?
Well, I'll be doing it in my own time, won't I? As a researcher, as part of my career, part of my job. So the university will pay me a salary to do that. So.
Rogers?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'm all for it, what you're doing, but I'm not sure it's necessary, to be quite honest. It's just going to be facts and figures. Surely better off saying, here's £1,000. People who are handing money out, food out, I won't name names in case I miss one. And I think they'd appreciate it probably more and help Bill more. Just my own personal thoughts. I'm not sure, a piece of paper, we know Bill worked together really well. And congratulate on how well it worked in several directions. And it's worked very good for Bill. I think we've been a town that's head and shoulders of a lot of others that worked on this sort of project. Nice you got the money. I congratulate you for getting the money and what you wanted to do, but personally, I think £1,000 worth of food on somebody's plate to be better spent. That's all my comment is. Thank you.
So my response to that would be that at the moment we think we're the only town council in the country to have developed the Build Works Together project, and if we can produce an outcome that shares that, then potentially you're going to have tens of thousands of pounds on people's plates, when other councils around the country spend taxpayers' money doing what this council has.
I'm not opposed to it, just confused with it.
Garvey.
Thank you, Chair. I'm absolutely fascinated in this. I think it's a fantastic idea in terms of getting an alternative understanding of the benefit of the Build Works Together project. I think, as you say, it's a unique thing that this town council has sponsored and done, and getting some sort of quantitative output of its impact, I think is something we should support. As a researcher, a much more traditional researcher, I'm absolutely fascinated with the methodology of this, and I really welcome the opportunity to share some of the results, have access to some of the results following on, and I would certainly support the proposal that the town council through the chief officer writes a letter of support.
Thanks.
Yes, I'm pretty sure that £1,000 isn't an either or. It's either do this research or spend it on food. This £1,000 is for academic research, so it's ring fence. It's ring fence very much of that. So there's nobody losing out on the allocation of this money on meals and food. What it hopefully will do, and it's for the research and analysis to show that, is it shows that it would produce. It shows it's worthwhile. And it would produce a template for following this to make sure that it can be used and justified, and it would help to produce that justification to allow us to get even more funding, keep that going. So what this would do would give the academic evidence to support further grants and the continuation of Biddle Works Together for as long as it needs to act and work together.
Yeah, I've just got 2 more speakers. Councillor Jackson.
Yeah, I think those of us can remember when this started, we went cap in hand to SMDC for extra funding and none was forthcoming. This research will surely help us to present this thing, and hopefully hopefully we won't need Build Works Together in years to come. But if we do, SMDC, when they can actually see the benefits to the community for quite a reasonably small amount of money, and the number of people that manage to keep their heads above water through the cost of living crisis, it would help in our argument with SMDC and other funders to say, look, this works. This works. And hopefully that will come from that research. It just gives us more power to our elbow when we're looking for funding for these sort of things from other bodies. And as Jill says, it could be shared right across the country.
That's all okay.
Thank you, Chair. I've lit the bells on this one. The people that Jill has mentioned, it would be researchers, they are part of the group of Biddle Together, yeah? So if things been being normal, they will have a natural leaning to saying it's been a success. They won't be very critical. There's more chance that they will lean to the side of what a jolly good show we've done. So is that a truly independent piece of work?
This is why we're using participatory action research, because if you gave people a questionnaire or did a structured interview and brought somebody in there and said, tell me what you think of the Biddle Works Together project as a community leader, they're more likely to go, yes, Jill, it was brilliant, Jill.
Yeah.
Please, yes, we'll continue because we definitely want more money from the council. And that's not the point of participatory action research. Participatory action research and the tools that the researchers use is that they don't even know they're answering a research question. They don't even, and and ethically that might sound terrible, and I don't mean it like that. But the point is that you're getting them to participate in an activity, to come together as a community group, which they're already doing anyway, to have some food and drink and you know, work with the people that they've already worked with over the last few weeks and months as part of the Biddle Works Together project. And they're going to produce as a picture or a poem about the Biddle Works Together project. So it's unlikely that someone will write as a beautiful poem about the Biddle Works Together project if they didn't feel that the Biddle Works Together project was a good thing. Do you know what I mean? It's unlikely people will participate in that type of craft-based activity. You're going to get some real research out of that. You're not going to get what people want to hear. Does that make sense?
Through the chair, I fully accept your passion, Jill. I really do. I'm not going to knock your passion. It's just I've still got these little bells going that say, well, it's loaded to one side.
Research always is.
Well, it is, exactly. So what mechanism do we use to balance this out?
Could be that they say that the Biddle Works Together project is crap.
Do you want to say?
And if they say it's crap, then, you know, we accept that. So one of the aims of the project is to find out how we improve the Biddle Works Together project, because we can sit here all day and say it was amazing, but some people might not have thought it was amazing. Some people might have found barriers to participation. So we need to find out what those are.
Yeah, I think to get through it for me through the chair, I'm not trying to cause an argument. It's just, we've got to be very careful with the questions.
Ken, I'm the researcher. It's going.
Then I'm frightened.
It's going through the university's research ethics committee. What you do when you write a piece of research is you talk about, when you're writing up the research, the biases of the researcher and the potential biases of a piece of research, and that you'll find that in the output of the research. So I think my point is you can talk about the ins and outs of the methodology and whether you think it's loaded, but that's not the point for this meeting tonight. The point for this meeting tonight is decide whether you want the Biddle Works Together project evaluated using participatory action research by Stafford University. You can criticise the research all you want when it comes out. That's fair enough. You've got carte blanche to do that, but right now that's not the question.
Chair, last word, honest to God, can I support the motion?
Councillor Fletcher.
Yeah, can I just say, I've never even heard of the Biddle Works Together project. And it makes me wonder how many other Biddle people have also never heard of
And
it.
that's the point.
And for me, that's a significant flaw in the way all of this has worked. Because for what sounds like a major project to work successfully for the people, all the people need to know about it.
And that's exactly the point. So, Sarah can send round the ethics approval documents if you want to, but one of the things that I write about in there is that the people that participated in the participatory action research, one of the questions is, or will be, have you heard of the Biddle Works Together project?
Can I move it forward, Chair? Sorry.
Sarah just wants to come in, please.
I just, for my understanding, who owns the whatever the outcome is.
So the owners of whatever the outcome is me and the community researchers that do the research. But there is acknowledgement in that ethics document, which I've sent to you, that it will be out in the public domain. So whatever is produced is in the public domain forever. So I own the data. Once the data comes in, I'm the data controller. So whatever's produced, that's me. But in terms of the output will be gifted to you for you to do whatever you want to do with it.
I think that's what I was thinking. Actually, if we're going to lobby for funding from elsewhere, something within our grasp, as it were, that we can then say, this is something that was done that shows you.
Yeah. So it will be in the public domain forever. So I will never be able to take that back and say, no, you, Sarah, you can't have that. Biddle Town Council can't have that.
Report that we can physically.
Yes. So it might not, and that's the point. And it's really difficult. The methodology is really difficult to get your head around, and it is a very niche methodology that hasn't. Well, it's not a traditional form of research, but I can't sit here today and tell you what the output will be, because it depends what the output the community researchers get from the participants of the study. So it could be that it's a nice glossy brochure. It could be that it's a little video. It could be that it's a combination of both. But I can't sit here today and tell you honestly what the output will be in terms of what the community researchers and the participants produce. But that's not to say, and this will take a bit longer because I'm not Superwoman, that there won't be an academic piece of writing that comes from that anyway as a separate offshoot. So the one thing that will be produced is what the community produce, the output the community produce, and that will be shared and disseminated. But there will be an academic piece of writing that comes from that. But that is not going to be till the new year, because I can't possibly.
Moved it, Chair, so.
Yes, I suppose so. I suppose what I was thinking as well is actually, if your first question is, if that's what you're going to say, have you heard of Biddle Works Together? Your second question is, have you eaten here on these days?
Yeah.
So actually, you might not know what the branding is.
Yeah.
But actually, you've gone to these locations on that timetable, and you've taken part in those activities where you knew there was free food and free activities and stuff like that. So somehow, I mean, obviously you're the expert in this. Somehow or other, we need to kind of not capture that maybe the branding didn't work, because actually that wasn't what it was about, was it?
No.
It was about bringing those community groups together. So yeah, well.
Councillor Harper has wants to move that Sarah writes that letter on behalf of the council. Do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Garvey. All those in favour? Okay, that's for everyone.
It's not right. Can you just record that I didn't vote, because I can vote, but I'd rather not. Thank you.
And move on to item 7, and that's to receive an update from the Chief Officer on summer events and activities.
Thank you. It's just a quick through some of the key dates for me. Things that we're involved in. Obviously, you know that the festival takes place during the month of July, and that's supported as we stand by Jodie in her role as Events and Partnerships Officer. So we've got the launch day on the 1st of July. So the team are working to make sure all the small people of the town end up in the right places for that. And then in the afternoon, volunteers will run the Biddle by the Sea. On the 5th of July, we're doing our dementia seminar. Do you know what we're doing for that? Is they like a carry-on film. So if you like a carry-on film, there'll be one at the town hall for July.
It's not this video, then.
No, no. As part of our health and well-being theme for the year, well, hopefully beyond that, we are offering DFib training on the 12th of July, so you can book onto sessions for that. It's about an hour long, but probably won't take that long to talk about the logistics of DFibs and how to use them should you ever need to. Obviously, we've got a lot of DFibs within the town, and people how approach them with some nervousness.
Is that open to the community?
Anybody, yeah. So that all of these things so far are in the festival brochure. So there's some of those downstairs if you haven't through the door. We're also running family cinema on the 26th of July. We're going to show Amazing Maurice, the big fat cat.
The Amazing Morris.
Yes.
Yes, Pratchett.
Yes, we're going to show that. All of the usual events that we run within the town hall are going on throughout July. Not we run, but we're involved with the bereavement group, the approach carers, sight loss group, and we have Dougie Mack joining us as a new group within the town hall. So one of the things that we identified was that there's a gap for people who have had cancer diagnosis or other long-term life-limiting diagnosis. Dougie Mack have got some funding and the desire to do more community work, and they're going to come and do it in Biddulph as well, which is marvellous. We hope that that will be a group that will support people in the community. And we've just agreed that the mayor will have his Civic Sunday on the 16th of July at 2:30. So that's very new. You'll get an invite out for that. So,
Is that the highlight of the festival?
highlight of the festival. Yes, so there's lots of other things going on as well, but the town council has quite a few activities within the festival brochure this time. So that's kind of where we're up to with that. Any support or any further questions, then just give us a shout. That's all right.
Yeah, on to some events. Can I add the 9th of September on there, please? The car show.
Of course.
A lot of bookings already.
Yes, yes, the phone is ringing off the hook with people booking their cars in, so we hope.
We had about 150 last time. I think we may get more this time, weather depending.
Got a big bus as well.
Councillor Garvey, that the beer festival's on the same night. I'm not sure if that was telling me I'm working or.
The request of volunteer helpers will be going out. I'm sure you can live on the same team as helped last year.
You need any samplers?
Well, the fact that you have endorsed it with your support is most welcome. Thank you.
Anyone else got anything to add or any more questions? No. If that's everything, then that's it for tonight. Meeting closed at